The Cardinals have just swept the Chicago Cubs in a 2-game series in Arizona. They're on their way to Los Angeles for opening day, and Victor Scott is on the opening day roster. All of that and more in the inaugural episode of Dealing the Cards. Whoa, okay. Podcast rebrand alert. Dealing the Cards. Technically episode 1, but what are we, like, Newt News episode-wise? Like
99?
98, I think.
98.
Something like that.
Oh, we just missed 100. That
I
was
know. I was thinking about
a
that.
miss. Oh, well. Hey, well, welcome. If you're new to the podcast, this used to be the Newt News podcast, and now we're Dealing the Cards. We're really excited about all the stuff that this new rebrand is going to bring. If you followed us on Twitter, have seen the rebrand over the last couple of days, we've talked about how a lot of this comes just from our heart, that we are Cardinals fans first, and this is a Cardinal podcast first. Lars Newbar is still in the lore. We still love a Newt, but Newt News no more. Dealing the Cards is in, and you'll just see a lot of fun stuff that comes with that as well. Andrew's worked really hard on the branding and done some really cool stuff with that. So Andrew, anything from like the lore or stuff you want to talk about from that?
Yeah, there've been some posts going up. There's each like center card in the poker deck has their own like corresponding player. I think the queen is the World Series trophy, but other than that, like every card has its own lore. There's a little like blurb written up about each of them. You can find that on our social media pages. Our social media pages are going to take a couple more days, up to a couple weeks to update. Thanks, Elon. But other than that, I don't think it's been really smooth. The support's been really nice from everyone, and we're really excited.
Yeah. Sandy, how are you feeling about the rebrand?
It's awesome. Obviously we love Newt News, and to be honest, like we're still going to have Newt News updates occasionally, I'm sure. And it'll take me some time, especially to not slip and call it Newt News at times. It's going to take a little time to get used to that. But yeah, I think this is a really good move for us. We're going a little more generic because you guys are right. Our love, even though we love Newt, our love truly is like tied to the Cardinals as a franchise. And so this is going to be a good opportunity for us to generalize a little bit, and hopefully it'll help us build some bigger connections in the future too.
True. So we'll definitely get into the Dodgers series preview in a second. We've got you'll see some fun, segments that we'll be doing. But we got to talk real quick. I mean, talk about love for the Cardinals. I don't even care if the games don't count. Sweeping the Cubs is the best feeling in the world. Honestly it's like a mini World Series. Every time you just get to beat down the Cubs, I'm like, this is amazing. Andrew, you got to lead, man. You have been on the anti-Shota Imanaga train all off-season long, and for them to beat up on him today. I saw some guy on Twitter trying to defend the like doubles against you, and you're like he hit the balls against the wall, and he was like, oh, they were catchable or whatever. Like I know it's not, the games don't count yet, and he is striking out the world right now, so there's some stuff to like. But how are you feeling about that? Maybe we'll get into Kyle Gibson, but how do you feel about your Shota anti-campaign you've been on?
I mean, initially it started out very friendly. I broke down all the NPB free agents, and I was like, yeah, these are the guys I want the Cardinals to go after, and these are the guys I don't want the Cardinals to go after. And then somehow down the line, Shota Imanaga was like projected to get a 9-figure salary, which I thought was completely ridiculous because he was like 106 ERA plus in Japan last year. He has really good stuff, but he's just never been able to execute it that well. He's a big fly ball home run problem. And aside from one really good season in 2022, the rest of his career has just been kind of whatever. And last year was the same way for him. And then he signed with the Cubs. So I was like, oh, okay, well, I'll just make fun of this guy now because he said, oh, I wore number 18 for Ben Zobrist, but number 18 is what all Japanese ace pitchers wear over an NPB. So I don't know why he said that, but I thought it was great. Shota Imanaga, he strikes out everybody, but then when he doesn't strike you out, he gives you a nice fastball right down the middle that you can hit for a good fly ball, and then we'll see where that fly ball lands. We don't know what's going to happen. Obviously it's still spring training, but everyone's like, yeah, his strikeout rate has been so good this spring. And then you look at his run prevention, you look at the hits that he's giving up, and it's like, oh no. So I don't know. It's weird how a pitcher can be so like dominant, but then also just like so not good at the same time. That it's kind of weird. I feel like he might have a couple of starts this season where he looks really, really good. But I feel like overall it's not going to be a great look for him. We've already seen the Cubs' projected rotation. I think he's going fourth behind like Tyone and Hendricks, who did not have good years last year. So kind of see how the Cubs view him already. That he's not Yamamoto. So
Yeah, I mean, I'm somewhere between like where he's gonna be amazing, like where Twitter wants me to make me think all the time, and where you're at, where he's gonna be garbage. I think he's probably like a quality middle of the rotation starter where he's fun to watch because he strikes out the world, but like then he gives up those random home runs, and it's like Blake Snell super light. So I mean, but I would be super concerned about that home run rate in in Wrigley, and then especially I think it was Blake Newberry on Viva Alberto's put together something where it literally, it's not even a joke, and it's not like an over exaggeration. Every single big Japanese pitcher who's come over to the United States has seen their home run rate double their first year in the major leagues, and his was already high in Japan. So like you imagine that in the United States.
Yeah.
Not going to be great. But speaking of, I'm not a big subscriber to brain stats, but Sandy, Cal Gibson looked like a Cy Young today with that sweeper. How are you feeling about Gibson? I mean, he's been like pulled through the mud by Cardinal fans all spring, and then he shows out and shoves against the Cubs.
Yeah, I mean, he's been like terrible in the spring, but today was awesome. And I think this is more what we'll see with Gibson. We're not going to see these big strikeout numbers every single time. Like Gibson doesn't strike out the world. That's not what he is as a pitcher. But it was good to see him go through 5 innings and only give up the 1 run. Like I'm really happy about that. I think Cardinals fans should be really happy about that in general. Nothing not to like today. This is exactly what he's supposed to do. He's supposed to give you 5-6 innings, keep your team in the game. And absolutely the Cardinals were in the game when Gibson left. So if this is the type of performance we get from him, even if there's not 9 strikeouts, even if it's 2 or 3 runs, we can deal with that. You know, Gibson's probably going to have that 4.8, 4.9 ERA, not the end of the world at all, as long as those runs are spread out and as long as he's not only giving you, 2 to 3 innings at a time. So very happy with what we got today.
Speaking of that, I went through today and I don't know what to do with it yet. So I'm just going to share it on here. Maybe I'll write a story, maybe I'll put a tweet out, but I went through all the game logs of Cal Gibson this year. And I want to do it with Lance Lynn too, and Miles Michaelis. And I was like, what did he do game to game? And he threw 6 or more innings in almost every single start. Yeah. And he gave up 5 or more runs like 5 times in his 32 starts. So about 26 to 27 of his starts, he gave up 4 or less runs. And a lot of those were 3 or less runs, which are pretty good. And giving you, like, he had a couple 7 inning plus with only 1 or 2 runs given up. So like you have a couple stretches where he's not giving you great starts, but most of his starts are good or like playable, which was the problem last year where you had Jake Woodford or Adam Wainwright going 2 innings with 8 earned runs. And it's like, okay, you can't win the game. But when Kyle Gibson goes 6 innings, 4 earned runs, you can still win that game, or 6 innings, 2 earned runs. I'll have to come through it later, but it was really interesting. And then his sweeper was, I think, the 4th most valuable sweeper and runs valued this past year. Sonny Gray was first in all baseball. So he's not a strikeout guy. He doesn't get a huge whiff rate on the sweeper, but it does get outs. So again, I'm not trying to push Kyle Gibson hype necessarily, but I do think that's one thing that will never go away. But I do think, like, I don't think he's going to be like Adam Wainwright bad, which I feel like people make him out to be. So, and again, that's improvement. We like improvement. So let's put to maybe tie a bow in the Cubs series. I like this question from Brad Johnson in the chat. Do we think the sweep, and we don't have to go super deep into this, do we think the sweep says more about the Cardinals or the Cubs going into opening day? Sandy, what do you think?
I'm going to say I think it says more about the Cardinals. The Cardinals have had a spring that people have criticized top to bottom, and yet they've got a winning record. Lots of ties. We hate ties in baseball. That's lame. Keep that in soccer. But it's been fine. This spring at the end of the day has looked a lot like the Cardinals seasons in 2021, 2020, 2019, 2018, where it's like the process isn't fantastic. Everybody knows there are more talented rosters out there, but they've gotten the job done. And they did that this weekend. Nobody hit a home run today, even off Shota Imanaga, but the Cardinals still managed to string together some hits, put up some runs, and they won 7-2. And this comes on the heels of a nice win yesterday. So I think this says a lot about the Cardinals. This year, you have a team that, even though it's not the most talented team in the world, is going to be able to get the job done. Like you said, we're looking for guys that are playable. Kyle Gibson is playable. Very happy.
Is Jordan Walker playable, though, in the outfield? Because that was a bit of a problem, and we'll get into that shortly. I feel like that was probably the worst thing that happened this series. I don't know. I feel like, it says more about the Cardinals. The Cubs I feel like everyone, like, we don't really know what's going to happen with this division. I don't see really any of these rosters standing out over the others. I think the Cardinals have built the best roster, but that's also probably part of my bias. And like, it's still not that much better than the Reds or the Cubs. And there's still plenty of room to go, but I feel like the effort shown was pretty good all around. And yeah, I feel like the offense is winning games exactly the way we need them to win games. The starting pitching hasn't been perfect. Steven Matz didn't look great yesterday. Kyle Gibson was really good today, but like, he still allowed a home run, I believe. So it's showing us what the team is going to look like. And I think it's important to know that even though the rotation isn't necessarily what we wanted it to be, it's still not going to be the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, I think it says more about the Cardinals because I think each game showed exactly how the Cardinals have to win games this year. I mean, you look back to yesterday's start, and everyone wants to rag on Steven Matz, but I mean, like, he only gave up 3 runs, and I know he didn't get the 5 innings, but like, again, that's playable. You can make it through the game when you have a strong bullpen like that. You can't have starts like that every game. So they can't go back to back to back of 4 1/3 with 3 earned runs. But again, he didn't get blown up, and it was basically just Suzuki that was really hitting him well. So I'm not too worried about that. But then the bullpen came in and shut it down. The Cardinals scored 6 runs after everyone wants to complain about the Cardinals offense all spring. And again, Roger Dean Stadium is one of the worst parks to hit in all of baseball.
Oh, yeah.
So that doesn't say much about the Cardinals rotation struggles there, but it does say stuff about the lineup. And then again, today they won 7-2. They got a quality start out of Kyle Gibson. The bullpen looked really good. And guess who hit today? Goldie, Donovan, Arenado, Ivan Herrera. Like, I think this is just showing, like, again, the margin for error for the Cardinals is really thin. And if they had done a lot more to upgrade the team, then you can, like, these injuries don't become as big of a concern, and you don't have to win these games by scoring a bunch of runs and your bullpen being locked down. But again, I think the series showed exactly how the Cardinals plan on winning games this year. So I'd say it says more about the Cardinals.
Yeah, I agree. Moving on, we're going to shuffle the deck here. So this is a new segment we're adding as part of our rebrand. We're going to add a couple of new segments. You'll see them pop up this episode, and then we'll repeat them in future episodes. It's going to add some structure to the show. It'll make it a little easier for you folks to follow along at home as well. So, the first version of shuffling the deck here, we're going to preview some of the moves that have happened recently. So Dylan Carlson has moved to the IL with an injury. He's going to be out for at least a couple of weeks. Very tough, but with him out, Victor Scott has been promoted to the roster. He's going to start opening day in center field. So we're starting this one with a bang. And then a couple of other minor moves here. John King was sent down, and Ryan Fernandez, the Rule 5 acquisition, has claimed the last spot in the bullpen. So very exciting. Lots going on with the Cardinals. And remember, we're going to repeat this segment in every upcoming episode.
Yeah, or as long as there's roster moves. But,
absolutely, yeah.
So, I mean, obviously the big news, Victor Scott. How do you guys, Andrew, like, do you think that was the right call to have Victor Scott on the roster? I know obviously the center field injuries are there, but clearly, the Cardinals just made the decision a few days ago to send him down, which means they were declaring 2 things. 1, they thought Dylan won the job, which I think is fair, but 2, that they would rather have Victor Scott in AAA, and now they've had to move back on that decision. Do you think it's the right thing to forego his development, to put him in center field? Like, what is your overall thoughts on that decision, Andrew?
Yeah, I was watching the game when Carlson collided with Walker, and I was like, oh no. But then I kind of realized, like, if Carlson was hurt, that, like, it sucks for Carlson, obviously. You don't want to see guys get injured, but, like, we have other options. One other option. If Victor Scott goes down, this team is cooked, right? There's no coming back from that.
Dude, Siani.
Like, Siani is not playable, I don't think, offensively. And then who else do you have in center? Are you gonna stick Jordan Walker in center? That's terrible. That's just, like, I don't even want to imagine a world where you have anyone else in center field right now. Wait.
What?
Andrew's been dreaming of this moment forever.
No way. Wait, you got to hit the pass button again. That wasn't loud enough. Wait, why is it? Oh my gosh. All right, Andrew, break the news. Go for it. Is this real? You're not messing with us, Kareem.
I don't know. This is what Kareem said in the chat. Jordan Montgomery to the Diamondbacks. Someone check Twitter and verify that. That is crazy.
I'm looking to verify.
Oh my!
I do trust Kareem, but I'm not seeing anything yet. Oh gosh, that would be wild. Oh, yep, here we go. Jeff Passan. Oh my gosh. Okay. Wow.
Whoa.
Jordan Montgomery to the Arizona Diamondbacks. Way to destroy our segment there. But I mean, we got to talk about it. I mean, first of all, geez, Mo, dude, I knew it wasn't going to happen, but I'm still annoyed.
Yeah, I was going to be mad whenever he actually did sign, but like the longer we waited, the more upset I got. Does anyone have the terms of this deal yet? Because if the AAV is under like $20 million, I'm going to be pissed.
It might be a long-term deal because it had been talked about by the last few days by I think Bob Nightingale or someone, or maybe it was Jim Bowden, that he had multiple long-term offers on the table.
That's what I heard too.
We'll have to see what comes out with that. Obviously, at the very least, I mean, the World Series appearance, Diamondbacks, the National League champion Diamondbacks. I can't say anything. Just added Jordan Montgomery and Eduardo Rodriguez to Muriel Kelly, Zach Gallen, Brandon Pfaadt. I mean, that rotation is pretty good. I think instantly you're thinking Dodgers, Braves, Phillies are all better than the Cardinals. You got to put the Diamondbacks in there now too. Their rotation's just really good. And now, like, I mean, you think of the Cardinals, Sonny Gray goes down to look at your rotation. You think of the Diamondbacks, Zach Gallen can go down, and you still have really good pitching. So, what a move! I like it for the Diamondbacks.
Yep, that's pretty crazy. We'll see what the details look like. I'm sure we'll be back over the weekend talking about it because if it was anything that was like close to like Blake Snell's deal with like a 20-some plus million AAV, or if it was like a low 20 million for like 5 or 6 years, I'm going to be pretty upset that Mo didn't pull the trigger on that one because we need it right now, honestly. And I don't feel comfortable going into LA with the rotation that we have right now. I think it's playable, but am I expecting us to take 3 or 4 or sweep the series? No, I'm not. It's not possible.
We'll get to that.
That's coming up.
Well, I've got a couple things. One, good point by John Becker, Fangraphs. If he signed 48 hours from now, then he couldn't get a qualifying offer attached to him next offseason. So this is probably a long-term deal because if he waited to sign 2 days, then he wouldn't have to worry about the qualifying offer attached to him. So that's probably true. And then Derek Gold just pointed out the Cardinals face the Diamondbacks 6 times this month. So there's a good chance we're going to face off against Jordan Montgomery if he's able to get ramp up in time. So I'm guessing this is a long-term deal. We'll see what happens. But let's get back to the Victor Scott chat because obviously, I mean, we'll keep reflecting the Jordan Montgomery. Oh, here we go. Deal will pay him $25 million this season, including an investing option for a second year per Ken Rosenthal.
So it's a 2-year deal. What?
So
you're kidding me.
No way. What?
That's crazy. No.
Josh, do you have Mo's water? You should spill it all right now. Stop.
Yeah, don't hold it.
I'm gonna throw it across the room.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So to repeat that again, Jordan Montgomery, according to this report that Josh just shared with us, has signed what's basically a 1-year deal with the Diamondbacks for $25 million. Which is very little, and it's before the deadline to attach a qualifying offer, which means the Diamondbacks will be able to snatch a draft pick next time around. He didn't come with a qualifying offer this time. That's absurd. And there's a vesting option, and usually those are pretty team friendly. I can't say they always are, but in my experience, most of the vesting options I've seen have been fairly team friendly. So this is kind of crazy. I can't believe this just happened. And yep, Kareem's put it in the chat. We're all thinking it. I would have rather signed Montgomery than Lynn plus Gibson too. Now, I understand that the Cardinals wanted certainty. Montgomery wasn't offering them certainty until now. They don't want to wait till now. They don't want to go into spring training without any of those guys in the rotation. But like, this is tough. Jordan Montgomery was a really good option for the Cardinals. And if I could, choose to have him instead of them, and the investment's the same, right? 25 versus 25. I would rather take that, and I would start Zach Thompson as my starter. So this is really tough.
It's tough because we don't know for sure if Montgomery would have come back. It doesn't really sound like they tried, but also, he could have not wanted to. Also, retroactively, there's no way, none of us. If you told me in October that Jordan Montgomery was going to sign a 1-year deal for $25 million, the vesting option for
I would have laughed at you.
Yeah, no way that would happen. So again, they would have to wait this out, but that doesn't matter because they still should have made the deal now if it was possible for them to do it, or even pay up a little bit. They'd outbid the Diamondbacks there. But then two, to your point, Sandy, they can attach a qualifying offer to him and then get the draft pick back next year about getting some draft picks. And then three, they could have, like, if they're worried about the luxury tax, which again they shouldn't be, but or the CBT, like the Cardinals could have just traded Steven Matz. I am sure someone would have taken him on, and you would have been under the cap with or under the tax with a Jordan Montgomery signing. And so now, if they go to the trade deadline and have to go out and get a starter, they have to give up prospects to go get him instead of just throwing money at him. That's so dumb.
This is brutal. And yeah, I just couldn't agree more. Like, this really sucks. Jordan Montgomery also provides that, like, you know, the quality that you're not going to get out of Montgomery or not Montgomery. Montgomery provides the quality you're not going to get out of Lynn and Gibson. And he provides certainty. That's what's so great about Montgomery. He's both. He's a guy that can eat 200 innings and he's going to be good. So this really is brutal. It's also a big loss for some other guys, though. The big losers here, feels like the Red Sox are a loser in this. I can't believe they didn't end up with Montgomery. It felt like he was going to fall into their lap.
How the Yankees let this fall through.
Yeah, what the heck is going on here? How about the Rangers would have really liked to see Montgomery come back? Certainly the Cubs would have been interested in Montgomery. And then Montgomery himself might be the biggest loser of this deal because he wanted a big deal. He wanted a long-term, contract. Didn't get it. Yeah, Scott Boras really overplayed his hand this offseason.
Man, think about this rotation. If you had Sonny Gray, Jordan Montgomery, Miles Michaelis, Zach Thompson, and then Steven Matz, or you could have just traded Steven Matz, and you probably could have made this work and gone with Gray, Montgomery, Michaelis, Gibson, Lynn, and then you have Zach Thompson that can get thrown into the mix at some point. Like, that's a pretty with this lineup and with this bullpen, that team's dangerous.
Yep.
Well, let's talk about Victor Scott again because I want to be happy.
Yeah, back to shuffling the deck.
Jeez. Well, the Diamondbacks did just shuffle the deck. So
yes, they did.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Okay.
Anyways, I don't even remember. I think I was saying something, and then I had to use the passing button real quick.
Yeah.
But,
I think like ultimately, I'll give my take real quick. Just I think it's like I'm worried it's going to affect his development at the plate. I'm worried about because I care more about him becoming the player we want to see him to be long term than I do about this 15-day stretch in April. But he's here now. And so I am definitely not going to root for him to be bad to prove he needed more time. Like I want him to be awesome. I hope he's great. That'll be so exciting. And so obviously he's an awesome friend of the podcast at this point. He's already way more than MLB ready speed wise. He's probably the most dangerous base stealer in all of baseball right now. At least really good defense in center field, if not elite at this point. Helps out with the defensive concerns out there. And I think people make a good point. Like he's just exciting. And so there's an argument to be made that this would have been a nice jolt of energy in the middle of the year when like things are lulling. And it's like, oh, Victor Scott's here. But instead on opening day, you get to have him. So I'm excited. Can't wait to see him play. I just am a huge believer in him. So even though I'm worried about it hurting his development, I'm not going to bank on that. I'm going to bank that he's going to be awesome. But Andrew, do you have concerns or are you all in on this?
I think what I was saying before is that there's just not a lot of options other than Victor Scott right now. I put out an angry tweet the other day. I was like, if Siani starts in center field, I'm going to wear my Dodgers jersey all day on opening day. So thankfully that's not happening because then all of Cardinals Twitter would be coming after me. But I think I'm excited. He's faced Major League pitching this spring, and he's looked pretty good. Obviously, that's a small sample size, and the league will adjust to him. But we've talked to him, and he's a student of the game. He adjusts quickly. He'll learn. And I'm not all that worried that he's going to be really not developing into the player that we think he can be, right? Because if it doesn't work, then Carlson comes back and is healthy, hopefully, and then Victor Scott goes to AAA. Or even if Lars Nootbaar comes back before then and it's just not working with Scott, Lars Nootbaar's played center field in the past, and you can use him as an emergency option for a couple of games before Carlson comes back. And then Tommy Edman will be back at some point. So then, like, we have 3 viable center field options. I know they don't want to use Nootbaar in center, but he has played it, and he's played it well. So I don't really know what the holdup is there. But I'm not overly concerned. I think he's mentally tough enough where a demotion to AAA, I think they've probably already told him this, that like a demotion to AAA doesn't mean that he's not like good and capable of playing at the major league level. It's just for a reset. And Jordan Walker did the same thing last year. He was more than fine after he came back. So I'm not worried about his development. I'm just excited to see him play against the Dodgers.
Yeah. Sandy, your thoughts on Victor Scott?
I mean, I'm super excited about him, obviously. I think he's major league ready in some ways, probably not in some other ways. And while I agree that it probably would have been optimal to just have Tommy Edman healthy so you can more confidently, have Victor Scott in AAA and not have to rely on him, it is what it is. The deck has been shuffled. Carlson's hurt. Edman's hurt. Scott's at the top. So this is what we're going to see. I think he's going to be good. I think, like you guys have said, he's going to add a spark to this lineup that you're not getting anywhere else. Certainly a spark that you're not going to be able to get from Carlson or Edman in the speed that he's going to provide, this elite defense he's going to provide. So hopefully on day one, he's ready to contribute. And like Andrew said, he seems like a mentally tough dude. I'm not sure a demotion is going to absolutely wreck him. So I think it's good. I think, it's a good move for the Cardinals.
Yeah. Excited to see it. So real quick, fun question. I was thinking about this today. You know how like teams have like an emergency catcher?
Yeah.
The Cardinals need an emergency center fielder right now because with all the ways people are getting injured, what if Victor Scott and Michael Ciani go down? I just would I be shocked? No. Because of what's happening.
No, because we've had so many injuries. This is absurd.
So, here,
you know who came up as a
center field? Who?
Colton Wong.
Oh gosh.
He just he can opt out of his
not
contract.
adding onto the roster in a mid game because they would call up like Matt Kaperniak or someone.
Yeah,
If in mid game like Victor Scott goes down or Antio and Michael Ciani goes down and they need a center fielder, who moves to center field? Is it like sneaky Masyn Winn?
Are we? Yeah, I would say Donovan. Are we assuming Nootbaar's hurt still?
Yeah. It's like game 6.
Matt Carpenter. I need it to be Matt Carpenter. That'd be so funny.
What if it's like
I'm gonna go sneaky Masyn Winn and they put Brandon Crawford at short because I think they'd be worried about Donovan's. Yeah, what
if it's like a relief pitcher? What if it's Nick Robertson?
Hey, he's not
Ryan Fernandez. Does anybody in the bullpen have like outfield experience in high school?
Surely they do.
So, anyways, I just wanted to ask that fun question, but
that's hilarious.
I was curious what you guys would think on that.
Wasn't Taylor Motter the backup catcher last year, the emergency catcher?
I think
it's been Paul DeYoung in the past.
Yeah. I think they should. I think we know what the answer is then.
Oh my gosh! Bring back Taylor Motter, 7-year, $700 million deal for Taylor Motter.
Taylor Motter.
You want to have controversies around.
He played in the KBO, and he was so bad in the KBO that they sent him to the minors.
Really?
That sounds like someone else. Anyways.
Well, one more thing real quick, circling back to the Montgomery news with the Diamondbacks. Last thing we'll say, this is also going to be part of a new segment, and it cropped up on us a little too fast to recognize it. But we've called Mo's bluff here, right? So whenever John Mozeliak makes a decision, or in this case doesn't make a decision. Okay,
this would be DeWitt's bluff, I feel
either one. Yeah, you're right. We'll call somebody's bluff. It could be Marmol for making a terrible decision in game. We know that that's going to happen at some point this year, and Cards Twitter is going to go nuts. So we'll call somebody's bluff. It'll happen. So today we're calling DeWitt's bluff. What the heck are you doing, man? How on earth is Montgomery signing a 1-year deal for $25 million before the qualifying offer can't be attached? I've had my say, though. We're moving on. Josh, take it away.
Just real quick. And then I think Andrew's going to do the series preview because we did promise we're doing a Dodger series preview. It's 30 minutes in, but
we're getting there.
Sonny Gray, as Derek Gold Derek Gold just pointed out, Jordan Montgomery signs for the same AAV as Sonny Gray for less of a guarantee in less years. What the heck? Oh. Okay. Anyways,
I love the Cardinals.
love them
so much.
Hey, they got to build their new Arby's somehow. Anyway, we'll move on to the Dodgers series preview as the resident Dodgers enjoyer expert. I'll break it down for you. We got 4 pitching matchups. It's all been announced already. Game 1, Miles Michaelis against Tyler Glasnow. I know, Josh, you wish it was the other way around. And then Game 2, Cardinals throwing Zach Thompson against Bobby Miller. And then Game 3, Yamamoto gets pushed back after his tough start in Korea, and he'll face off against Lance Lynn. And Game 4, Steven Matz will take on newcomer Gavin Stone, who will be making, I think, one of his first starts in the big leagues, maybe his first start in the big leagues ever. So that'll be exciting. The Cardinals love facing guys when they debut, right? That always goes well. So
never forget.
Anyway, what are some of your guys' takeaways from that? I think the Dodgers should be favored in pretty much every pitching matchup except maybe the last one. Stone has had a really good spring, but he got kind of roughed up by the Angels yesterday. I don't put a lot of stock in spring stats. His cup of coffee last year wasn't great. It was just kind of whatever. But I don't know. Anybody that you're particularly scared of? I think for me, Glasnow is the only one I think that I'm like, oh no, we're going to get shut down, because the rest of the guys seem beatable, especially Yamamoto after his start in Korea looked really beatable.
Yeah, I think maybe one thing that plays into their favor a little bit here, but I still am most afraid of Glasnow, is, I mean, we've seen it with Cardinals opening day. I'm not familiar with Dodgers opening day, but a lot of times there's a ton of festivities and stuff going on, and that mainly affects the home team. And so Glasnow, first ever start as a Dodger in Dodger Stadium, opening day, all this different stuff going on. I could see a world where he's just not as sharp and effective, but I'm not going to bank on it. So yeah, I'm definitely most figured to see the Glasnow side of things. And it's just so interesting that, like, if the Cardinals are matched up against the Pirates or the Brewers or the Reds or like any other team, like the pitching matchups, they'd still not be fun, but they wouldn't feel this drastic. It's like if you face the Dodgers, you're going against a team that has like 4 to 5 guys that could be a number 1 on a lot of staffs. And then you have the Cardinals who have guys that could be number 5s on a lot of staffs. So it's like, it just, the parity is even greater there. Again, not trying to defend the rotation, but it's just like, that's a way to, like, it just makes it look even worse than it already is. So I'm very Glasnow, and I'm really interested to see what Lance Lynn does in his return to Dodger Stadium. Because he seems motivated to be good this year, but we'll have to see. So, hey, San Diego, the matchups
for the festivities,
or Andrew.
Yeah, for the festivities, I don't know if they usually do anything big. I'm pretty sure they don't, but there's this guy that they signed, who I'm pretty sure is going to get a big welcome. So I feel like that's going to be a big deal.
And a lot of questions he won't answer.
He's not going to understand any of it because he doesn't have an interpreter.
Oh gosh! Also, I forgot Zach Thompson. That's the guy I'm excited to watch. I want to see how Zach Thompson does. So, oh man, is San Diego the pitching matchup stand out to you?
I mean, I agree that I'm excited to see Zach Thompson pitch. I don't know. The Cardinals probably don't have the edge in most of these, but as we'll talk about later, for some reason, I'm still like kind of optimistic going into this series. I think for the most part, though, when I think about this, I'm just sad because I wanted to see Sonny Gray pitch. As a resident Sonny Gray super fan, it really sucks that he is.
Just be happy that Ohtani's not going to take him deep in his first start.
That was just never going to happen, so I don't know where that's coming from. But, nothing crazy here. The flop is the flop, and it's not great right now.
Yeah. It ain't. We're holding a 2 and a 3, and it's not looking great for us right now. So and there's no 2s and 3s out there. So okay. So I know we're throwing all these new segments at you, but I really like this one. I think this will be a fun one that we can incorporate a lot. So we're going to give some serious predictions. This could be like the outcome of the series, which we'll all kind of give our outcomes at the end at some point. Or I guess one of these questions I know will be. I'll lead with it. We'll talk about different player performances, things we think will happen in the series. So we're going to call this call, raise, or fold. And so each of us are going to give a prediction here, and we're going to call, we agree with that decision. We're going to raise them and go even more aggressive, or we're going to say we're all out on this decision. So like Andrew saying that Shohei Ohtani is going to homer in his first at bat, we're obviously, Sandy and I are going to fold on that one because Shohei will not get a single hit against the Cardinals in this series, and he'll actually probably be suspended by the end of it. So Andrew's kind of going off right now. But I'll start off with, let's just do I know it's kind of the burying the lead a little bit, but let's just go with it. And then we'll kind of get into player performances. But I'm going to say the Cardinals are going to split the series 2-2. And I actually kind of think they're going to take opening day. I think they might take game 1 and then another game in the series, just because, again, there's so much hype around the Dodgers. And I think sometimes they can play against the home team. Again, I'm not trying to act like the Cardinals are a better team, but it's also baseball, and you can literally win any game or lose any game. That's the beauty of it. So I think the Cardinals will split the series with the Dodgers, come out 2-2. I don't know how great it'll feel 2-2, but like, honestly, like, even if it looks bad, getting 2 wins is going to feel good. So call, raise, or fold. The Cardinals will split the series 2-2.
I'll call. I think the Cardinals are going to do that. Yeah.
Andrew, you called too?
What? I couldn't believe Andrew's not folding here. I'm going to call. Whoa. I'm feeling confident.
Okay. So here's Andrew, the thing, right? Like, when you're a fan of a team, then you like view them in a more negative light. You tend to. You're like, it's probably not going to go that well. I feel like after I woke up at 4 a.m. for the Solo Series, and I watched the team play for real, I'm not that high on the Dodgers right now. And with all the off the field stuff that's going on surrounding them, they're going to say that it's not going to affect them. Shohei's going to be like, yeah, I don't care. But like, Ippei was there with him in every single game that he's ever played in Major League Baseball. And for the first time, he's not going to be there. So that's going to be kind of different. And I don't think that's going to help anybody. And Ippei, for the Angels at least, a lot of those guys thought he was a great clubhouse guy. So not having him around is going to be a big deal. And most even number series end up in splits anyway. I feel like Dodgers split the Soul Series 2 games, 1 game apiece. And I feel like, as I said, Glasnow is the only pitcher I'm like really scared of. I feel like Bobby Miller's been volatile at times. He can give you a really good start or not so good start. Yamamoto just came off the worst start of his professional career ever. And he really struggles with the bright lights. In NPB playoffs, he historically hasn't been that great either. Last year had a couple of pretty bad starts for them. So it's kind of like a classic Dodgers kind of thing to get a guy who's only good for the regular season. But like, this weekend is going to be such an event for Dodgers fans. They just got their super team. And I feel like even after he pitched in Korea, it's still going to be different. Like, it's his first time pitching in front of the Dodgers fans. The pressure is going to be on for sure. The Cardinals lineup isn't going to let him down either. Like, they're a force to be reckoned with. So I think Yamamoto is very beatable. I wrote an article about this. They need to attack him early. They need to get on base, force the mistakes. Victor Scott's going to do that. If Victor Scott gets on base, just imagine. And Yamamoto has something else to think about now. So I feel like that's a winnable game. And then with Gavin Stone, we don't know, right? Like, his spring training was good, but also his very first start, I think, of his career. But like, I mean, the Cardinals struggle with that sometimes, but maybe this is the time they do a Mike Myers onto the other team, you know?
Hey, historically, I mean, until recently, they were the team that always take out the Dodgers in the playoffs. So whenever the games mattered the most, the Cardinals would overtake the Dodgers. So
hey, that's what Matt Carpenter is for, you know?
Oh God.
There you go. Well, outside of the fact that I do think the Cardinals, like, I'm going to predict the Cardinals win 2-2 or split the series 2-2, and the festivities play on the Dodgers. I do think the fact that Cardinals have a strong bullpen really helps early in the season, because, and not that the Dodgers don't, but I think it's a thing that they can strike gold on a little bit here, is that a lot of times early in the season, pitchers aren't as sharp. The hitters are usually a little bit more ready. So you're going into the season with, I mean, both sides, the Dodgers and the Cardinals, you might not be getting the best starts of the year pretty early on. So if you're going to the bullpens quicker, I like the Cardinals bullpen a lot, and I think that can keep them in a game, especially if maybe, like, I don't know, I don't see the Cardinals rotation just being terrible because it's an early in the season. Like, I know we all don't think it's great, but I don't think it just means they're going to give up 8 runs every game. But maybe it levels the playing field a little bit. The Dodgers starters just aren't as dominant, and then that gives you a little bit more of an edge. But also, I just think the Cardinals lineup is good enough to keep track with the Dodgers lineup. So, yeah, we'll see. Sandy, any reasons you're picking to go 2-2 other than what we've talked about?
No, nothing specific. I just think, like Andrew said, a lot of times these end up in 2-2 draws anyway with a 4-game series. I think you're right. I do think the Cardinals actually have a fighting chance on opening day, and I think that they're going to knock off one of those other pitchers. But I'm ready to give my prediction, and you've already alluded to it. So we'll just do this. I think the Cardinals are going to be strong in 2 places this series. I think that your anchors, so Goldschmidt and Arenado, are going to get off to a nice start. And I think that the bullpen is going to look excellent. And I'll complicate it just a little bit and say Cardinals Twitter won't recognize either of those 2 things, and they'll whine about other things. So, you guys, if you want to call, raise or fold, let me know.
I'll definitely call the last one or raise it. Like, they're just going to be even more unpredictable.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I'll call, not the specific names on offense, but I'll call the offense looks really good, especially coming off all the concerns, and that there's probably a couple bats that carry the series, but then in general, the lineup looks good, which again is part of the strength of this lineup is that you have 7, well, not right now because Nootbaar is not going to be healthy, but you have 6 guys that you really like in Donovan, Gorman, Walker, Goldie, Arenado, and Contreras. And then honestly, something I really like about this team that's just not being talked enough about is that this is one of the few teams in baseball that your backup catcher comes in and the bat is still really good with Ivan Herrera. Yeah. So he probably gets a start this series, and you're not like Andrew Kisner or Carson Kelly. I'm just trying to think of backup catchers from the past that like just don't really give you much. It's like, I like what Ivan Herrera is going to give them. And then also against a lefty, I think there's a decent chance we see the Cardinals try to stack their lineup where Wilson Contreras will DH those games and Ivan Herrera will just get into lineup anyways because the right hand heavy it a little bit. So I'll call that. Andrew, you calling, folding, or raising that? I don't know how you raise it, but you could.
Well, yeah, I know Twitter is going to be mad at us and at the team regardless. So I don't know. I feel like Paul Goldschmidt is probably not going to get off to the best start, and then Twitter's going to be like, "Oh, we should let him go," and then he's going to get hot like he usually does in May, and then we're going to be fine. So I'm not sure about that. I guess I'll call as well. It feels boring to just call, but I don't feel too strongly about this one either way. I feel like Nolan Gorman is probably going to have a better start to the season than Goldschmidt, just based on like historical trends and Goldschmidt not being always the best player in April, but I'll call it.
Yeah, I'll just say the 2 bats I'll go with. I'll go Gorman and Donovan will have really good series.
Yeah. I'll call that. Yeah, I feel really good about our offense in the early going here. I'm really excited to see them finally in game action because we've been hyping it up all season. They were hurt all of last season, and so now everybody that really matters on offense is healthy. I'm excited to see this get going.
Yeah. Andrew, you got a take you want to give us?
I feel like a lot of the ones that we kind of already talked about. I'll say that Victor Scott will steal. See, everyone's stealing from the Dodgers these days. It's so mean. But I'll say that Victor Scott will steal 3 bases during this series.
3. I'll raise. I'm going to go he's going to steal more than 3 bases because I bet there's going to be one. I just think he's going to try. He's excited. So I think if he gets on, I bet he'll steal 2 bases. I bet he'll steal second and third at some point in that series. He'll get 2 and 1 time on base. And
will he do an Ellie De La Cruz and steal every base?
Oh, gosh. That would be awesome if he stole home.
That'd be really cool.
And then MLB will – okay, how about this? Victor Scott will steal every base in one at-bat, and MLB Twitter will not post about it.
Yeah, I'll raise. I'll call, whatever. Absolutely.
Oh, gosh. I actually think Scott will be someone they want to post about, but I could totally see them being like, Ellie, look at this hard throw, and he got thrown out on this ground ball, but he ran really fast. It's like, oh.
Yeah,
love your MVP candidate.
It'll be like Ellie De La Cruz speed check with like the little wind emoji. And then it'll be, like 31 feet per second or whatever. And it's him getting casually thrown out. That'll be funny. So true. Gosh, most MLB tweet of all time. But we're going to move to our all-in takes here. So this is another thing we're going to do after this, where if there's something a little broader, maybe, that we're all in on. And for me, my all-in take is a little bit of a special one. The Cardinals have, well, not the Cardinals, St. Louis sports in general have a 4-sport day coming up on Saturday. The Cardinals are playing The Battlehawks are on the road against the Michigan Panthers. The Blues are at home against the Sharks, and SLCSC is playing Real Salt Lake. And I'm all in on the, St. Louis in general going 4-0 on Saturday, which is something that very rarely happens in any city. It's rare that you even get 4 sports to line up. Chicago actually hasn't gone 4-0 in like an absurd amount of time or something like that. I remember it was a really funny stat, probably because the Bears suck. So this is going to be really fun. They're doing it. A bunch of good matchups across the board. Battlehawks, Panthers, easy win. I know I've got some fellow Kakars in the comments here. And then, Blues, Sharks, another easy win. SLCSC, as we all know, is coming off a great year last year. And then,
the last
of course, I'm picking the Cardinals to win. So let's do it.
Unfortunate.
Well, they're getting the win on Saturday. So don't speak that negativity over it. I'm all in. Yeah, Brady's right. Caw is the law. That's right. Okay. That's my all in take.
Sure.
Okay. Andrew, you want to give yours or you want me to go next?
My all in take is that Bill DeWitt doesn't care about winning. I'll put all of it in on that.
That's new.
Right? Because, we just talked about it. That was what it was going to be already. And then Jordan Montgomery signed mid-show, and I was like, oh, okay. Well, he really doesn't care about winning. So you can go. I'll come up with another one.
Okay. No, that's good. You get another one, but I like Jordan Montgomery stole your take here. I'm going to go. I'm all in. This is going to be a weird one. I'm all in that when Tommy Edman returns from the IL, he will no longer have a starting spot on the roster.
I like that.
Oh.
I think Tommy Edman will be the official backup shortstop, backup center fielder, and he'll be the guy. It's like Brendan Donovan will start every day and will be bounced around the diamond. But then when someone does need to be the next man up, Tommy Edman will fill in at second base, shortstop, center field, maybe the corner outfields. And then him and kind of Dylan Carlson have to fight for some outfield time there. But I'm going to just go. That means all in. Victor Scott earns the center field job, runs with it. Or maybe it even means Dylan Carlson looks really good in center. But I'm guessing the Victor Scott side of it. And then by the time Tommy Edman returns, I love him still. I don't think it's not a shot against him at all. It's just something I've been kind of previewing for a little while now is I think there's a chance that at some point, I just kind of thought the writing's on the wall with Masyn Winn. You had now you have Victor Scott in center field. I just think it makes a lot of sense that Edman's roles can be more reduced than we thought it was. If this is assuming Scott proves that he can keep the job. I also think there's a scenario Brad highlighted in the chat that Edman's out for a while. So if Edman returns, and it's also, he's gonna be out for a long time. You don't necessarily bank on that guy being great right away. I think he's a reserve player now, which also speaks to the strength of the Cardinals position player group. So I'm all in on the idea that by the time Tommy Edman returns, he'll be a reserve player, barring injury, obviously. But he might have to fill in for someone who's injured. But if the team's at full strength, he's a reserve player.
Okay, I have another all-in take now. It's that Zach Thompson will force either Lynn or Gibson out of the rotation. And
I like it.
I think he's going to run with it. Like we said this about Jake Woodford, and I don't want to look back on this like I look back on Jake Woodford. But
Zach Thompson's a little different.
Well, they're similar career paths up to this point, honestly. Like Jake Woodford was not a bad reliever. Sure. I feel like he's going to take the opportunity. He's going to run with it. And I feel like he'll make a statement on Tuesday because the Dodgers, we saw it with the Padres, right? Mike Schill loved throwing his lefties out against the heart of that order. And I feel like Zach Thompson will be able to navigate it well. Other than Mookie Betts, I'm not really scared of that many of the right-handed hitters on the Dodgers. And honestly, it doesn't matter who Mookie Betts is facing. He's going to be really good. So I think he's going to have himself a really solid start to the season, maybe go like five innings, 2 runs. And then from then on, he's just going to be a fixture in the Cardinals rotation. When Sonny Gray gets back, he's not going to be replacing Zach Thompson. He hopefully is going to be replacing like Kyle Gibson or Lance Lynn or one of those guys. But then it kind of begs the question, why are those guys even here, instead of Jordan Montgomery?
Which is the part of the take where I think it's hard for me to fully buy into is that I feel like for it to be more likely to happen, I feel like it has to be Steven Matz that moves to the bullpen because of that. Also, I hope our expectations of Zach Thompson don't get too high where if he's a mid-4s ERA guy that people get upset about it. It's like, again, no one, I mean, unless you think he's a future ace, future frontline starter, like a guy in his first turn in the rotation as a youngster. Oh gosh.
It's really funny. That's really good.
Jeez, I'm not even going to repeat that for audio. You'll have to go watch the YouTube on that one. Yikes. 49-minute mark if you want to see that comment. But like, again, we overrate fourth and fifth starters a lot outside of like the best rotations in baseball. So I'm really afraid people are going to be like, Zach Thompson's a 4.20 ERA. He's terrible. 4.10. It's like,
yeah.
If he's only going 4 or 5 innings, that's not great. But if he's giving you more innings, so maybe what he does do is he's a mid-3 ERA, and then he gets moved to the bullpen, and people are like, why? But it's because he's been like 5 innings or something like that. They went all in on the idea of innings, so to go back on that so early is going to be tough. So I think it's more possible we see Steven Matz move to the bullpen than Lance Lynn or Kyle Gibson, at least this early in the season, but maybe later. So I don't know if you disagree on that, Sandy, or not.
No, I think you're right. I think with Thompson, like, obviously we know that he's talented and we know that he has the capability to be like a very decent pitcher, but like you're saying, he's not an ace, and those expectations need to remain in check. You're absolutely right that if he's, rocking a really high 3s, low 4s ERA, especially if you're getting volume, it's a super valuable pitcher. That's a guy who's immediately becoming, your third starter. So people need to understand that that's a much more reasonable expectation for Thompson than, oh my gosh, he needs to go out there, have an ERA under 3.5, be giving me 7 innings a night. Like, he's not going to do that. Let's get that out of the way right now.
Yeah.
Can I do a bonus call? What is it? Call, raise, or fold? Is that what it is?
We'll make this our final. We'll make this or all. Is this an all-in call, raise, or fold?
No, call, raise, or fold. Lance Lynn
this is our
loves
last take.
himself some highlight reels, Lance Lynn loves himself some highlight reels. He'll be on highlight reels forever because Shohei Ohtani's first Dodgers home run will come off Lance Lynn.
Oh, man.
I want to call that because it just seems
I'm going to call it.
Oh, I'll raise it. How about this? Just so that
2?
2 home runs off Lance Lynn. Just
2?
because we talked about how boring it was to call, and also I feel like all of our calls have been positive. So I'll raise that Lance Lynn gives up Ohtani's first 2 home runs.
Oh my god!
Which does mean Ohtani didn't homer in the first 2 games, so that's good.
We'll take
so
that.
Maybe the Cardinals go 2-0, then 0-2. Who knows? Maybe Lance Lynn awakens the beast. Oh man. On that note, guys, thanks for the support tonight. We had a really fun chat tonight. So if you're watching live, that's super great. If you go watch this later, again, if you can join us live, it's way more fun. We get to be interactive in that way. If you're listening on audio, we really appreciate it. Again, it's Dealing the Cards now, formerly the Newt News Podcast. So if you're first time listening, please subscribe. We consistently have players like Victor Scott on the podcast, or different writers who are giving us some different tidbits on what's going on in Cardinals Nation. Again, we'll be back this weekend to reflect midway through the Dodgers series and then kind of preview the Padres series to come. And I'm sure we're going to have a lot to talk about once games finally matter. Appreciate the support, Brad, and everyone else in the chat. We just love you guys, and we're so thankful for what the 2024 season is going to bring. So yeah, this was the inaugural episode of Dealing the Cards, and we will see you all next